Our next speaker is Jyri Arponen, and he works for Finnish innovation fund Sitra. By the way, one of my favorite organizations in the event. And Sitra is promoting and financing sustainable future for well-being. And Jyri is here to discuss strategies to revenues. Welcome, Jyri.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in Oulu. I think it's a capital of Northern Europe, actually. And I think you are regarded as an intelligent city of North as well. So I hope the audience is such. I hope I am also fulfilling the expectations. Nevertheless, I was asked also to give first to start with the picture, which is important, and I thought that I don't bring my family because they always hate you. It's not allowed to take a picture of your children and show it publicly. They never want to be in the picture. But this is our summer cottage in archipelago of Turku, which is the most beautiful place in the world, actually. But this is rather robust picture, sort of, because it's taken by me. And it's a patio that I have self-made with my sons, and also there is a sofa where I try to sit as much possible in the summer cottages. But there are many things, of course, and that's when I'm most relaxed, when I'm sitting there and watching the sea. But there are many concerns. First one is, of course, the Baltic Sea. Actually, it has been a little bit better the last few years, but if you think about 30 years back, it was much clearer, the water. And we still have a lot to do there. And the other thing is that I should fix the boardwalk there. It's not in good shape. And I'm also, you know what is missing there? It's the boat. And we used to have a sailing boat, but I cannot afford it because, you know, our summers are very limited time of the year. We have 2 slushies and they're between a very short summer. So that's a reason that is not there yet. But I have to somehow think about what sort of boat I could afford and to use for 1 month in a year. Maybe I go for sharing, but still those the market price of sharing a boat, it's very high. So especially in these mountains or the month of July, when everybody's in summer vacation in Finland, and Finland is actually closed those. And of course, what we like to do is to use the grill. Usually nowadays we only grill fish, of course, and chicken. Not so many times makkara, which is sausage, or meat. So things has really changed within 30-40 years here in Finland. So maybe that is enough and what was expected, but join the archipelago. If you haven't been there, you should. There are 40,000 islands to visit. Okay, do I have the pointer? I was expecting that it would go automatically away, but no. So this is my headline, bringing circular economy from strategy to revenues, because many times for especially SMEs and smaller companies are asking me that where's the solid value case in circular economy? Usually it's about the side streams, waste and circulation. But when you are not, if that is not your core business, you are usually recycling or considering what type of raw material you should use. And you seldom think about the client. And many times when you see the circular economy presentations, you don't see the client. You see the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's butterfly, where you have the biomaterials and on the other hand the mineral materials and the circulation of materials. What you are missing is the client. Start there. What is they need? How is it changing? What is the new technology giving me? And suddenly you start to find a business case. And I try to be very short because my associate with this thing which I'm showing has been actually in the foundation of technical industry here in Finland, and Laura Juvonen, who will present more precisely about the business models. So I don't have to say the words. I have many slides, but I'm skipping some of these are like wallpaper, but just give you some thoughts in your head. By the way, Ilkka Halava was mentioned that guys with the suits don't use their brains. It was only the one which is standing on his hands. But I cannot do that. But I think it's more important what you have in your head really than just a suit. But it's also making me smaller. And many times these are just practical reasons. So, all right. So as we heard, there are challenges, but there is also possibilities, huge potential. But the potential is not there if you don't understand how it really how you can attract the potential and make it the market and make it the client. It's just there. And it's not the new potential. It doesn't come from the heaven with the circular economy. It's still there, but it's changing the present situation of this market and the needs. This is very important to remember that sustainability is three-dimensional. It's the ecological, social and economical sustainability. And you have to have these three things all together in your business plans and in your business idea. And it's about how we go from linear to circular. And many people think that after overnight I realized that I'm circular and not linear. That is not the case. It's about the business model which makes the change and these new technology innovations. Of course, some of our industries like pulp and paper, they have been circular for 100 years. It was vertical circulation in the beginning and a lot of our chemical industry as well. But now it's time to renew those as well. And there are a lot of these success cases, global big ones. They are already changing the business models from as a service model, refurbishing motors, renting engines, and remanufacturing parts to the engines. So this we all know, but what is really there behind now is the bigger change. It's the change. This is actually the bad one is the car industry, but how they now have changed. I was asking, by the way, that do you have these awful lights? But they said no, but you do. But so it's kind of, I'm all the time like this. So it's really not anymore linear, it's circular. And what's the core? It's here. It says use phase, but it actually you, me, whoever is the person who is using that automobile that they are producing. And then this is BMW's model actually. Here you have the sharing platforms, which is Drive Now, for example, and the other one is that you can lease the car as a service. So you pay a certain amount a year. The other one is you pay a certain amount of the mile you use. And as you can see, the manufacturing is actually here in the outer core. And here is the maintenance, reselling, remanufacturing. Those are in the middle, very close to the car and the user. And also very nicely, the biological flows are very, very integrated in this system. So this is new type of thinking. What does it mean? It's also changing the supply chains. We already heard that technology is changing that very, very rapidly. This is the other thing as well, which will change. It's the circular economy, the way of renewing and changing the whole industry. And coming back, sorry, this is Edward's business, and then there are different type of companies. They are not doing the same thing. Some of these companies, the circulation of material or creating something from the waste or reused material is the core business. They are actually here in the middle. So are providing those services and making these linear businesses to go circular. And then we have these enabling businesses which are providing consultative or technological services or financing services to this whole system, which you actually saw in the previous slide. And what does it mean? This means actually that at the end, these will actually go from the manufacturing to the client phase. The big ones want to own the client, they want to have R&D, and they will produce and make huge platforms of the suppliers. And that gives also to the smaller and medium-sized companies a new perspective for the future of them and their role. So they might be just the ones that these big ones are needing. And this is a huge change. But you have to understand, first of all, this system, that what is your role and what you want it to be in the future. And the second thing, to identify what is really your business that you are in. And these are the new platforms which are now coming to the market. And this will be actually presented here today by Edward Blomstedt. He has this air-fast supply chain platform, and it's really changing the whole way of thinking industry. You can set up a factory without having manufacturing at all. And these are also the new competitors in the market if you are now providing components, for example, to the OEMs. And so these are the drivers, and this is the biggest change maker now for the companies. It brings you the sustainability because you can measure, you can optimize, you can predict what you are doing. But it gives you also the opportunity to bring new services to your client and actually starting to think what they really need and what should be my delivery. And you are coming towards the outcome instead of a product that you are delivering. And this is the change that is taking place all industries. And why is this good from going away from the product to the services? And this is going bigger all the time and bigger scale. It is that usually if I'm, and you think about the circular economy and the CO2 emissions, for example, and your footprint. It's about that usually if you have the value chain, the biggest CO2 comes from the heavy industries when they are producing steel, aluminum, cement and plastics. Usually these manufacturing processes are rather lean, and problem starts again when your customer starts to use the engine. The CUs go high. If we own the engine, we can optimize the usage of that, and the CO2 remains very low. And that's the key point here. And also the life cycle will be doubled even, or even more. And that engine or whatever product it will be can have a second life as well in some other use. And of course, you are asking, what is it for me? This is the question that companies usually ask. So it's not anymore only about, if you think about the circular economy, it's about EBIT. It's just some savings in the processes and material. It's starting to be also the source of new revenue. And the scalability, it comes with these new business models, and you start to work closer with your clients. And also other one which is very important is that investors are seeking this type of sustainable and viable investment and deal flow. You employees are expecting that, and same is with the partners. The next generation won't tolerate anymore if you are in a bad business. So we actually created tools for SMEs, which Laura will present you more closely. But in that process, with the 50 companies, we didn't talk about waste or side streams. We talked about inefficiencies. Because you have inefficiencies in all of your value chain and all the way, and many times in all of your functions and processes. But what is the biggest thing? That you have unexploited customer engagements that you haven't used. and you start to find new ones of them. And that was many times for those companies who were with us. They started actually there to seek for something new. And here are the business models, which I don't go so, specifically here, just maybe stressing these two ones, which are those who gives you the possibility to grow and to get new revenue. And to show that this is not something that Sitra or tech industries or we have innovated here. No, this is global phenomenon, and the big ones and the tech leaders are already doing this. And here you can see the business models, and this is just examples of companies who are already doing this. This is very nice example. It's a family-owned company, Piiroinen from Salo, and they are actually producing. The business idea has been to produce chairs, but now they have, with this project, they went with us. They changed it, the idea of serving a meeting room as a service. So it could be like this type of space, what they could give you, by monthly fee. And then they would take care of the energy, lighting, projectors, and so on and so on. But the other thing, what happened with them, they started to sell solutions instead of chairs. And actually they are the provider of the new stadium, all the chairs in the new stadium of Helsinki, Finland. It's not the old one, but they are renewing that there. So it has been a very, very tremendous change for the company's culture and with the way they have done earlier. And now this is the main focus for them in the all businesses. And this is very, very typical in the industries. They just changed their way of thinking of maintenance to be predictive. Instead of having sort of miles when you have to change your axles or oils, it's changed by the usage and the need, and it's predictive. And this is very good. It's my one of favorite Just Air Tam Turbo from Tampere. They are compressor manufacturers, but they have this new business concept of selling air by cubic meter. Because usually if you have an industrial process, you need electricity, you need water, you need air. And two of these, first you get monthly payment or a bill. So now you can have also bill based on the air that you use. And then you can change, if you have many guys who is taking care of the compressors and maintaining those and so on, they don't have to touch that at all. You just use the air when you need. So it also gives you a possibility to use it was not allowed to say human resources, your people, to do something more closer to the client. Because usually what SMEs are saying that, hey, we don't capacity to sell, we don't have capacity to market, because we are all so much on the processes and manufacturing. But we have other possibility to change that, go towards your client and start to think what they need and bring those solutions and let this type of systems to take care more and more of your production and typically those pain points that you have there. Now I'm speeding up, but this is important that, hey, you have to change the way you are doing. And this is very important, this organization and collaboration, what you do. It means that the values, the mindsets, you have to really start to think, are we on the right track? Are we following our values if we claim that we are sustainable? Are we that? What does it mean in our daily thinking? And above all, how do we behave? The best way to measure your values is how do you act when nobody is supervising, nobody is watching? Do you really do as you claim? And that's why we have also brought anthropologists into this business model And there is a company startup called Kenbu here in Finland, where is this banker and anthropologist who started that business. It's very, very interesting. And companies are truly listening to those guys. How does human behave? And that's about that. If we don't change our behavior, nothing will happen. And maybe trying to get to the end of my presentation here. Usually we are, in many times you are here, many SMEs particularly, that you have identified that yes, we are doing circulation. It's recycling, we are using new materials maybe, or we are remanufacturing some parts of our engines, or we are trying to prolong the life cycle. But here is on the second stair is that where you start to create the new business models and closer to your clients. Many times these SMEs even started to do so, for example, sharing platforms or trying to go to the as a service business. And it means that also the supply chain will totally, some of part that will disappear, but it will be changed. And there in the upper level is that where you actually have the circulation thinking in all your functions and processes in your company, and it's the principle of your operation model. And here is just an example. It's maybe very not so obvious, but this is Nokia Networks. And you can see here that we run our operations and develop our process using circular economy principles in all of the actions. Not only material side, but also in their services, the prolonging the life cycles and getting rid of the inefficiencies in all of these supply chains that they have. Yes, so here it is. This is the wrap up. It's very simple, as you can see. Just define clear business benefits. What is this for me, really? The second thing, you have to have a right operational model to realize the full benefits. How can we do that? You have now the playbook, you have now the circular economy business models. How can we examine that? Is that really something for me? And third is the trickiest part, how to drive the change. And that's all of our really problem. And I think that we will discuss that further in the panel. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jyri.